Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dangerously Divine podcast. My name is Rachel, and I am a feminine energy and magnetism life coach. If this is your first time here, welcome. Dangerously Divine is the space between where personal transformation meets true extravagance, community, and connection. I'm here to help elevate your mind, body, and spirit in the perfect blend of healing mindset practices, divine feminine wisdom, and modern luxurious lifestyle shifts. If you don't even know what half those words mean, that's okay too. I'm just happy to have you. My podcast, simply put, is for people that wake up craving abundance and want to effortlessly magnetize a reality that they're obsessed with. If that's you, you're in the right place. Dangerously Divine is all about accepting not only blessings, but also expecting miracles and raising the vibration of the female collective all together. Get ready to activate your feminine gifts and embark on a journey of self-love, empowerment, and profound transformation with me. If you think all of this sounds fantastic and you're ready to really elevate your life, then stay tuned to the Dangerously Divine podcast and let's embark on this journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and divine transformation together. If you've been listening to the podcast before and you are part of this wonderful community, you know that I always hook you guys up, which is why I'm letting you all know about the top secret sponsor for today, which is my Build a Wellness Plan service located on my website. And the reason I say it's top secret is because it's a little bit hard to get to. If you're taking notes, you're going to want to go ahead and write this down. If you go to the Dangerously Divine homepage, www.imdangerouslydivine.com, you'll see a few services as you scroll down to the middle of this page. They're titled Feminine Quantum Healing Services, and the three that I have listed here are Intuitive Pendulum Questions and Answers, Feminine Healing Using Reiki, and Love Tarot Card Reading. But if you click Book Now, you'll be accessing my entire library of services, and there is a lot more than just these three. You click the Book Now button on my website and it brings you to the page of all the services that I offer. There's one specifically that I want to highlight for you, and that is my Build a Wellness Plan offer. It is 2 hours, you and I, and it is all about transforming your life, stepping into your power, and claiming the happiness and freedom that you deserve. Right off the bat, I know what you're thinking. How is this Building a Wellness Plan service different from all of the other ones that I offer? First off, even my one-on-one clients don't get me for 2 hours out of the day. So this is a really special service dedicated to you. Instead of months of coaching, this service is all about rediscovering your joy and light, tapping into super high vibe energy, and mastering the art of magnetism almost in a masterclass type setting. Inside of these 2 potent hours, we will first talk about goals that you want to achieve, anything that you're trying to magnetize into your life, and whatever freedom, passion, purpose, and prosperity mean to you. The truth is, you may not feel worthy of your dream life yet, or even know where to start. That's when we'll begin breaking those patterns of behavior, unpacking all of the habits, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and opening you up to whatever you feel is holding you back from reaching that next level version of success. We will be doing all of the shadow work right here in those 2 hours. Now, I know that shadow work can seem a little scary and it might feel really vulnerable to crack open with me, but fear not, because the service isn't just about pushing you out of your comfort zone. It's about holding your hand every step of the way and reminding you just how freaking awesome you are. And what's building a wellness plan without the plan itself? This service concludes with actionable step-by-step guidelines that you can follow that are completely 100% tailored to you, that will help you break out of those patterns and begin to raise your vibration and begin to magnetize all of the things that you desire. Because our session is one-on-one, you will be guided by me, someone who has soaked up wisdom from thousands of hours of personal development, devoured books, podcasts, videos, and attended conferences so that I can help you live your best life. Maybe you're doubting your self-worth, or you feel lost in a sea of endless possibilities. Well, here's the secret. There is no one-size-fits-all formula for success, but with this service, you and I will work together to craft a custom action plan to harness your magnetic power and start living unapologetically, authentically. So if you're ready to break free from the chains of self-doubt, if you're ready to step into your true brilliance and claim the life that you were born to live, this service is for you. As with everything, you can always reach out to me on Instagram at I am dangerously divine to ask any questions. But as I said, this service is kind of top secret. It's a little bit hidden on my site for a reason, because I only offer this service to the best of the best, the women that really want to break out of their old patterns and step into a vibrant version of themselves. Remember, you are all worthy of love, success, and the investment you make in yourself. So it's time to claim it. I hope I will see you all inside of this plan. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Dangerously Divine podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Loren, entrepreneur, life coach, and your new spiritual bestie. We dive deep into all things feminine magnetism, mindset, and empowerment. Prepare to unlock your full potential and activate your feminine gifts. If you're an ambitious woman who's ready to stop playing small, step into your feminine power, and claim a life beyond your wildest dreams, then you're in the right place. So go ahead and turn up the volume. You're about to hear juicy stories, inspirational advice, and transformational tips that'll help you up-level your life and align with the divine goddess within you. More self-confidence, freedom, and abundance are all just a play away. Thank you for listening and enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. I just got off of a 2-hour call with one of my Build a Wellness program clients. And oh my God, let me just tell you, that was so magical. What we did in those 2 hours was super, super potent, and I'm so excited for her. Please, please, please check this out. I know you just heard all about it in the podcast intro, but it is one of those services that I kind of forgot that I offered until I had this client reach out. And now she has a step-by-step action plan to transform her life through feminine energy. And I just feel so good and invigorated now. I'm also heading to Boston. Maybe when you're listening to this, I'm heading there on Friday with my 2 friends who I also went to Chicago with. And I'm just so excited. I am vibrating on a different level, on a level of possibility and adventure and fun and freedom. Oh, it feels so, so, so good. But today I wanted to talk about a buzzword that has been in the media maybe for the past year or so. I really don't remember hearing it before about 2 years ago. And that is people pleasing. If you're like me and you follow all of the healing Instagram accounts, then you probably already know what people pleasing is. And if you don't, we'll get into that in a minute. But I thought this episode would be really important to share around this time because it is almost summer. And as adults, we really have to soak in the time that we have maybe off from work or less responsibilities and just enjoy our summer the way that we want to. I know when my friend had come to me saying that she wanted to go to Boston, I was a little bit apprehensive. If you know me, you know that I don't really like traveling within the US, but I felt like I was down for adventure and I wanted to go. But I know plenty of other women who go on girls' trips who are also people pleasers and who don't have the boundaries or the self respect to say no to plans that they don't want to do. So today's episode is super relevant to what is going on in my life, but also relevant to hopefully just help you identify people pleasing behaviors and how it relates to your own feminine magnetism, and then start to cultivate more behaviors that truly align with your authentic self so that we can use our feminine magnetism to attract more opportunities that are aligned with what we actually desire. I'll give you the lowdown on today's episode. We'll first go over what people pleasing is and the impact that it has on our feminine energy. We'll talk about why to stop people pleasing and how this behavior actually harms our magnetism. Then we'll talk about embracing and overcoming challenges to unleash your feminine magnetism. So, first, we'll talk about what people pleasing is. And I'll start with a personal anecdote here. And hopefully, you can relate this story to yourself if you think that you might be a people pleaser. So, growing up, I placed a lot of value on good behavior and self discipline. I like to think of myself as a model child. Like there could have been an American Girl doll named after me. I went to church. I was always super responsible at home. I got good grades. I was quiet and pleasant with others. I never got sent to the principal's office or got in trouble with my parents. It was simply not allowed in my mind to have any negative emotions or thoughts. I really felt like I had no other choice but to make others around me comfortable as I was growing up. I really did feel unsafe in my body during this time, and I could sense the slightest little hint if someone was upset with me. And it was enough to send me into a spiral of self shame, doubt in myself as a person, and also go into people pleasing mode. And this pattern carried into adulthood. I found myself in jobs with supervisors who would just yell and scream and fly off the handle at every opportunity they could. I worked extra hard, more hours than anyone else to avoid getting in trouble. But when my colleagues got yelled at over their mistakes, they kind of just laughed and brushed it off. But whenever anger was directed at me specifically, I became almost paralyzed with anxiety. And it took me many years to actually learn that this is conditioned in me from a young age. I developed a deep seated fear of losing my sense of belonging and safety with others in relationships. And to help cope with this fear, I developed strategies to safeguard myself, and that is called people pleasing. When you put others' physical and emotional needs before your own, and you feel obligated to manage everyone else's happiness, or if you're just hypersensitive to being judged, shamed, or rejected, and you constantly worry about what other people think, you may overextend yourself just to be helpful. And when you do stand up for yourself, you might suffer from anxiety or guilt. This is textbook definition people pleasing. And when you don't address or change these patterns within yourself, you can actually eventually feel resentful of people, frustrated at situations, and even angry at yourself. When I was researching for this episode, I found out that people pleasing is actually a nervous system response. So I want to get into what Google says a little bit. So prepare for your impromptu science lesson from me. Okay, so our nervous system, it affects our stress, our social interactions, and our desire for connection. And what the nervous system is a network of nerves and cells that transmit signals to different parts of the body, telling yourself whether or not you think that this is a dangerous situation to be in. The nervous system states almost look like a bell curve. At the bottom of this bell curve, you have your ventral vagal circuit, which supports connection to yourself and others. This is seen in curiosity, feeling compassionate, connected to others, a sense of safety, steady breathing, rest, relaxation, digestion. But if you feel like you're in an unsafe situation, this can actually immobilize or slow sympathetic energy, telling your brain to get into fight or flight mode. Judgment or rejection can trigger the body's fight or flight response, especially in social situations. So, what this looks like is your heart could beat faster, maybe your breaths are shorter, and you release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This sympathetic hyperarousal could also trigger rage, impulsivity, perfectionism to sink in, irritability, anger, overfunctioning, intrusive thoughts, all of these things just to help get your body to feel in control of a specific situation. People pleasing tendencies start to kick in when we travel from the sympathetic to the dorsal vagal nerve, cutting off your own needs and disconnecting from your feelings. And this is your freeze or fawn responses. So, this is helplessness, feeling exhausted, feeling numb or disconnected, hopelessness, shame, inability to think clearly, and even disassociate. All of those are controlled by your dorsal vagal nerve. And this is the peak of that bell curve. For many people, myself included, people pleasing is a coping mechanism rooted in the basic need for social connection and safety. So, from an evolutionary standpoint, acceptance within a social group has always been part of survival. And that's why our nervous systems are wired to find safety and connection. In today's society, the pressure to conform and meet others' expectations can trigger that same biological response that once helped our ancestors survive and navigate the complex dynamics of social groups. But in today's world, it looks a little bit different, like relentless pressure to perform and belong. And this can lead to really an exhausting pattern of seeking external validation and the sense of not being able to rest or feel calm or connected to your body without it. Today, people pleasing is most commonly influenced by our childhood experiences and attachment patterns. For people who grew up in environments where their needs for safety and connection were not constantly met, the nervous system's response to social interactions can be deeply influenced. And this can make someone highly sensitive to rejection or disapproval. And it can cause them to constantly seek approval from others just to avoid feeling upset. If any of this sounds like I am describing you, fear not, because there is habits that we can build to escape people-pleasing tendencies. And the first step is recognizing the nervous system's role in people-pleasing behaviors, because you'll develop more self-awareness to create change by understanding the roots of these behaviors. Okay, so science lesson over. If none of that resonated with you, I will give you a few more examples of what people pleasing can look like in the modern day. This is saying yes when you meant hell no, plastering on a fake smile just to appease others, and bending over backwards until you're practically doing a limbo at your own expense. But if you're here listening to this show, I do not want you signing up to be everyone's personal doormat. The girlies that listen to this podcast do not deserve to be walked all over, which leads me to my next point of today's conversation. What the heck does people pleasing have to do with our feminine energy? The analogy I like to think of here is that your feminine energy is like a fierce lioness ready to conquer the jungle. But when you're stuck in people pleasing mode, you're more like a timid kitten, afraid to roar for fear of fluffing some feathers. At the height of feminine energy comes our intuition, which can be suppressed when we're in people pleasing mode. Constantly seeking external validation can drown out your inner voice and intuition. And we know that feminine energy is deeply intuitive and connected to her inner wisdom. But people pleasing can cloud all of this intuitive guidance, leading us to feel confused or even doubtful of ourselves. When we constantly seek this external validation and mold ourselves to meet others' expectations of us, this is so diminishing to our own authenticity. Feminine energy thrives on self-expression, but people-pleasing suppresses this quality, which can also lead to a disconnect from your feminine. Most people pleasers struggle to set and maintain healthy boundaries, often sacrificing their own needs and desires to avoid conflict or gain others' approval. But we know that feminine energy is actually strengthened by clear boundaries that protect your emotional and energetic space and foster a sense of self-respect and empowerment, which can be lost when we don't establish these clear boundaries. And then if we're not establishing those clear boundaries, we cannot have the time or energy or capacity to care for ourselves because we're so busy prioritizing others' needs above our own and neglecting the process of nurturing ourselves. Just know that feminine energy flourishes when you prioritize your well-being and you honor your own needs. But when you're people pleasing, you might feel burnt out or depleted of vital energy that you need or that could be used to care for your own self. And lastly, by nature, feminine energy is creative. Women create life and all that comes out of this world. But when we suppress our true desires and authentic expression, this stifles creativity. We know that feminine energy is the foundation, is the womb of creativity and innovation. But when we people please, it can lead to conformity and fear of stepping outside the lines, which limits our creative potential. So, as if those weren't enough reasons, let's learn how to release the need for external validation and embrace authenticity, self-care, boundaries, intuition, and creativity, because those are all essential steps to claiming and amplifying your divine feminine energy. I have 3 tips to stop people pleasing and reclaim your feminine energy so that we can begin to magnetize all that we desire. First, it's important to understand our trigger responses. As we just learned, people pleasing often involves a heightened state of arousal or activation in the nervous system. So I want you to think about your own nervous system responses and how they contribute to people pleasing behaviors. Start by tuning into your body and noticing when you feel the urge to people please. Do you experience a quickened heartbeat, shallow breathing, muscle tension? Recognizing these physical responses can help you to identify when your nervous system and these responses are being activated. And it might give you some space to try and care for yourself a little bit differently. I know for me personally, whenever I'm feeling activated or hopeless, I immediately jump into freeze mode. I feel like I can't move. I want to turn off my phone. I don't want to eat, drink. All I want to do is sleep because of that trigger of the unknown. A practice that I like to do personally to get out of this freeze response is to distract myself with something that I enjoy. So I will either read a book so that I can begin to distract my brain with the story, or I'll go for a walk to really get into my body. And then suddenly the fear that I have, this hopelessness and fear of the unknown, all leaves my brain because I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about the beautiful trees that I'm seeing on my walk, or I'm thinking about the next page of the book and what's going to happen to the characters. I take myself from a freeze that would normally last a few hours and do a practice of self love, completing something that I enjoy and I feel productive doing instead. If you're having trouble thinking of what your triggers are or ways that you can avoid your triggers, I want you to consider, what would life be like if people pleasing wasn't a problem for you? Imagine a scenario where you've already reconfigured all the neural pathways of your unconscious mind and you feel exactly how you would want to feel, showing up exactly how you would want to. Do you get angry when your boss reprimands you? Would you ruminate over thoughts after an interaction didn't go exactly the way that you planned it would? Would you feel disconnected or numb if you struggle to feel heard by your peers? Chances are no. So, what would you do differently? Maybe you would take a shower after a hard day at work and use all of your fancy skincare products. Maybe you would start a new creative endeavor of painting, drawing, or writing a book when a social interaction didn't go your way. Whatever this looks like to you, you're confident, you're powerful, and you have the ability to stop these neuro responses right in their tracks. It is truly that easy. So I want you to think, what rules would you stop following? Whose misdirected emotions would you suddenly want to be bulletproof against? What responsibilities would you shamelessly give up? And what self indulgence would you treat yourself to? There's a reason it is so intoxicating to fantasize about our ideal life. As humans, we are actually wired to, quote, believe whatever we imagine because a part of our brain doesn't actually know the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. And it's the same reason we get emotionally pulled in to TV shows, books, and movies. When the critical thinking part of your mind goes quiet, as it does when you're wrapped up in a really good story, you're accessing your unconscious mind where all of your habits are formed. To get out of your people pleasing brain rut, you need to plant seeds into your unconscious mind to help influence how you show up in the world in the way that you want. Done with repetition, these seeds can help build new neural pathways, making it possible for you to become your best self at home, work, and in your community. My second tip here probably comes at no surprise, and that is that you need to honor your needs. And that all starts with setting boundaries. Establishing clear boundaries and prioritizing your own needs is crucial in overcoming people pleasing tendencies. When you feel the pressure to say yes to others out of fear or obligation, I want you to take a moment and really check in with yourself and ask, what do I need in this moment? Is this actually what I want to be doing? Setting boundaries involves recognizing those wants and desires out of yourself and communicating your limits with others. which can totally feel uncomfortable at first. I get it. But putting your needs first and adjusting commitments respectfully shows your body and your mind that your well being is important. So, being aware of our bodies actually helps us to control and understand the state that our nervous system is in and to feel more regulated. And then from a place of regulation, we can ride out those urges to please others. So tune into those bodily sensations, observe the ebbs and flows of your natural responses in social situations, and you can develop a greater capacity for self regulation and self soothing. For me personally, when I was a people pleaser and I was asked something of myself, especially about like a work situation, I would always dive into hyper focused over functioning. I would immediately try and do my best work and really run myself into the ground to a point where I was even unable to think clearly about the project I was working on. We live in such an instant gratification society where it almost seems odd to take time to think about things, but allow this to be your permission slip that not every decision you make needs to be made right then and there. Obviously, I know that the people pleasing can sneak up. You don't want to be responsible for missing deadlines or for causing other people stress. But if it is not a life or death situation, it is totally okay to take a few hours or a few days, tune into your body, see how a yes feels, see how a no feels. Try on every possible circumstance before making your decision so that you know that your decision came from an authentic, good place. Now, whenever I have a big decision to make, I practice using self regulation techniques. And this can look like breathing exercises, muscle relaxation, or meditation to help calm my body's stress responses and soothe my nervous system. It helps me to quiet those people pleasing tendencies that can sneak up, but also to handle stress better and to feel like I'm making a decision from a really grounded place. We're up to my third and final tip here, and this is to practice self compassion and self validation to rewire your nervous system responses to social interactions. The key word here is practice because repetition matters. I know that I want to be a powerful, badass woman who lives life on my own terms. So I take special care to start acting like that person. You can start by imagining yourself in specific places, taking specific actions, feeling a certain way. Focus on actions like speaking your truth, confronting people, feeling confident, setting boundaries. You don't necessarily need to commit to doing these actions just yet. Visualization is enough, but spend 2 to 3 minutes and make this part of your daily routine. Your mind needs new information on who you want to be in order to incorporate the changes you want to make into your life. Then, once you feel like you have a good grasp on your decision making process, how you want to respond, and who you want to become, the next step is to take that real life action that supports the person you're becoming. Your brain and nervous system are always learning and adapting when you show up in new ways. It's like providing the proof to yourself that, yes, I can do this. So start with small steps. Choose places where you want to put yourself first and practice using your voice to advocate for yourself. I have a funny example I'd like to share here. So I have this friend group and we take a lot of pictures together because we do a lot of fun things with each other. And there was one day where we were all out wine tasting and we're all talking and laughing, and my friend wanted to shoot a video of all of us just having a good time. And before she started recording, she yelled out the word consent so that everyone at the table heard her and knew that she was taking a picture of us. If you've ever taken a group photo with your friends, you likely know that your friends will pick probably the best photo of themselves and not really pay attention to you or anyone else and how you guys look in that photo. But this is a prime example of a boundary that was communicated sort of universally across my entire friend group, that we would all now yell the word consent whenever shooting a picture or a video. That way we can all make sure that ourselves and our friends all look good. If we didn't do this in our friend group, there might be one person who feels like they didn't look as good because they didn't know they were going to be in a photo, and maybe like they were eating something and it's just an unflattering angle. And then that could lead to that person feeling resentful because they didn't speak up or communicate how they were feeling about that specific photo being shared. So it has become universal law in my friend group that everyone yell consent so that we will all know when a photo is being taken. Obviously, this is a funny example, but it perfectly illustrates what happens when you speak up for yourself and you put yourself in situations with people that respect your boundaries. When you feel that level of security and comfort, this decreases stress in our bodies and can lead to healthier and happier relationships. With that, we are at the end of today's episode. I want to first acknowledge the difficulty of breaking free from people-pleasing habits. It is not an overnight process, but the first step is to be aware of those triggers and how your nervous system responds. Throughout this episode, we learned that people-pleasing can stifle your personal growth and fulfillment and take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being, as well as your feminine energy. We now know that at the basis of feminine energy is embracing your authenticity, self-expression, creativity, and boldness and intuition. And we want to let go of people-pleasing tendencies to really feel that transformational power of reclaiming your feminine energy and living authentically in your truth. I would encourage you to begin to let go of people-pleasing behaviors by doing a little self-reflection, tuning into your body, setting boundaries, and beginning to trust yourself with those self-care practices that will help nurture your feminine energy as well as your mental well-being. If you liked this episode, I would encourage you to please leave a rating or a review. It just helps the show reach more women whose message this could possibly help, and also tells me that you love what we talk about here on this show. As always, I can be reached on Instagram at I am dangerously divine. If you have any questions, comments, or topics to talk about on the show, I would love to hear them. Please send me a DM. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week on the Dangerously Divine podcast.